It's a very sad day today. I can't even comprehend the news. How are consumers gonna survive now that Resident Evil has been cancelled by Netflix? I mean, I knew a heap of people who hated this show. For like 2 weeks, everyone online was ranting and raving about how horrible of an adaptation this series was. And to hear that it's finally been cancelled is a blessing, because I got 2.5 episodes in and thought it was probably the worst adaptation of this franchise that's ever come out, which is very, very hard to say, really, because every adaptation of this franchise has been god awful. The Mila Jovovich movies were pretty awful. The newest one, the Welcome to Raccoon City movie, the attempted reboot, was also awful. And this show, which strayed way too far away from the source material, is also completely awful. When the first images of the cast came out, everyone was up in arms about the race changing of Albert Wesker and worried about the agenda pushing in the show. That is the least of everyone's concerns, because once the show came out, everybody realised that it was poorly written, poorly acted. The back and forth flashbacks between the two different time periods completely broke up the flow and the structure in a way that hindered it even more than it was already hindered by the lack of writing talent and the lack of acting talent. Besides the actor who played Albert Wesker, because he is a great actor, but he wasn't even the main character of this show. That's the thing, they kind of used a good actor as a drawing point to get people to watch the show by casting him as a typically white character that he looks nothing like, and then gave him the notes not to act anything like that character as well. So he's basically only Albert Wesker by name. And to no one's surprise, everybody absolutely hated it. I'm not going to go too in depth into this article. I am just going to read maybe the first paragraph just to get the meaty details at the beginning. So, Netflix has opted not to order a second season of Resident Evil, its action horror series loosely, very loosely, based on the popular video game franchise. The news, which comes a month and a half after the series' July 14 release, is not entirely surprising, as the drama did not have a particularly strong showing on Netflix's top 10, and cost versus viewing as the streamer's leading renewal criterion. So, what does that tell you? An extremely popular franchise which has had dog shit after dog shit adaptation and reboot time and time again gets another one, and people sniffed it out from a mile away as soon as the cast was shown, as soon as the trailer came out, and people didn't bother watching it because it did appear in Netflix's top 10, but it got kicked off pretty quickly. It does say in the second paragraph that it debuted at number 2 with an okay 72.7 million hours viewed, which is admittedly quite a few hours, but how quickly people stopped watching because of word of mouth. And at the bottom of that paragraph it even says 27% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, which is absolutely shockingly low for a TV show. So there's absolutely no surprise that this got cancelled. I just wanted to make a quick video talking about it because I've already recorded this week's podcast, and the fact that I've had a haircut since I recorded it as well would kind of give away the fact that I didn't record the two clips in the same time period. So I thought it would just be worth mentioning in a video like this. I'm not the hugest Resident Evil fan. I've only played 3 of the games. I enjoyed them moderately. I think the 7 was probably my favourite one that I played. But I'm not even that invested in the lore of the franchise or even know that much about it. And I hated what I saw of this show, from the Zootopia porn line and the horrible, absolutely atrocious writing. I can't even imagine how pissed off diehard fans of this franchise are, because every time a new adaptation comes out, it somehow ends up being worse and worse. I think people just need to stop trying to make Resident Evil related content outside of the games. It clearly is not something that can be adapted well. It really can't. You could argue that the first Mila Jovovich movie is decent, and I will give you that, it's an okay movie, but then that franchise quickly goes from, we had an okay first movie, to right down there. Just straight away from the second one onwards. I think there's 6 of those movies. Or is there 7? No, I think that's 6. But everyone gets worse and worse and worse as it goes along. People just need to stop trying to adapt Resident Evil. It does not work. And this is proof of that. And it especially doesn't work when you take a franchise basically by name, add Umbrella Corporation and one character from the games that people know into the mix, and completely change it. What did you think was going to happen? That you were going to woke up the cast a little bit and people were just going to flock to the show and love it? No. It doesn't work like that. People can sniff out bullshit from a mile away. And people did that. It was dead on arrival. It came out. People hated it. And now it's been cancelled after 1 season. So, to anyone looking to reboot Resident Evil or try and continue the franchise in some way outside of the games, I honestly wouldn't bother. We've had 3 different adaptations, not including animated movies and side projects that I can't really talk about because I haven't seen any of those. And they've all been awful. Find something else to adapt. This clearly doesn't work.